Hello, everyone. 내가 마셨나? 안 돼. 미안. 설거지. Wow, I'm really tired today. I think I've been pushing my meditation a little bit too hard recently, so I'm feeling pretty beat. But wanted to say hi. So, uh, I forgot to answer some questions from Reddit yesterday, so I wanna answer that. And aside from that, free topic. Let's see. Hmm. So the topic of interest today is having it all as opposed to not having things. Mm. But before that, some quick viewer Q&As. Number one is this was a conversation that went on a little bit earlier today. What is my major? My major in college was computer science. What was my minor? My minor, I didn't have a formal minor that I graduated with, but I took a lot of courses in linguistics. Probably could have pursued a minor in linguistics, but I think at the time I was just so intent on just graduating and getting out of college as soon as possible. So I think I had a few courses that I needed to take if I wanted to take a minor, but and at the same time I wasn't like the best student when I was in college. So I probably needed a lot more credits in order for me to get a formal minor, and I was not really interested in doing that. So anyway, I did linguistics. Linguistics is really fun. Many people think once you do linguistics, you can speak any language. It's sort of not really true. It's an overgeneralization. Just like how when I tell people I'm a software engineer and a computer science major, then people are be like, "Oh, fix my computer for me." But you'd be surprised. A lot of people are very practical computer ignorant when it comes to actually solving some real life problems. I remember in college, I was a sophomore and I was taking this class, and when you're a computer scientist, you use a lot of the command line. So basically, on whether it be Windows or Mac, you have a mouse and then you point things, you double click things to open things and things like that, right? So you have those graphic user interfaces, but this professor or a lecturer was so out of it that he had no clue how to use any of the graphic user interfaces because all his life he had been just writing on consoles, like stereotypical movie, like get into that mainframe and then like hackers go blah 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 and then like the screen just goes up like the Matrix, right? Um, Basically, that was his entire life, and he needed to put the computer on presentation mode so he can like teach stuff, right? But he had no idea how to do it, so he needed the students' help, which was kind of interesting to me because I knew that computer scientists were not necessarily good at computers in general, but I didn't know it was that bad. Um, yeah, so that's the extent of that. But anyway, I didn't minor, but I took a lot of courses in linguistics because I was really interested in linguistics. Um, and I'm kind of bilingual to begin with, right? I speak Korean and I because of the proximity of my hometown to Japan, I was exposed to Japanese very early on. I don't speak it though. I just, like anime knowledge, right? I understand what characters are more or less saying, but I have no idea what's. I don't know. I can't really speak it fluently. When it comes to judo techniques, I can tell you all the judo techniques names and what it means. But aside from that, I speak English. When I was living in Canada, when I was a little one, um, this was back in like third grade, fourth grade. Uh, they they speak French and English in Canada, right? So I took French classes at school, but all my peers already took like 2 years of French, so they knew what was going around, and I had no idea what was going on, and they're not gonna necessarily make the class easy for one kid, right? So I remember being in Canada, and whenever it was French class, I was just sitting there kind of clueless about I don't know what these kids are saying. Um, so that was my experience with French. My sister had a better time with it, but yeah, I live in California, so now I'm exposed to a lot of Spanish. So I don't speak it. My wife does a lot of Duolingo in Spanish, so I think she speaks better Spanish than I do. Same with Japanese. She is planning to take the formal like Japanese test ran by the Japanese language institute or something, JLPT. So she's a lot better than Japanese than I am. And then yeah, so I've been interested in languages since I was little. But linguistics, when in the majority of universities, is taught in fours. So phonetics, which has to do with how our sound producing organs produce sound. So that's called phonetics. And then there's something called phonology, which is basically how you have these distinct words, right? And sentences are basically combinations of words, right? Combinations of phonemes that like go in sequence with one another, and but given some context, right, the same word is said differently depending on what comes before, what comes after. So phonology is all about really dissecting those rules and getting really deep into the how a language is actually spoken in the culture and the speaking diaspora. So phonology is actually very, very interesting to learn, but if you are trying to do research on phonology that hasn't really been investigated, then it's a lot of work. And I was part of some labs that had to do with speaking Korean dialects. So I remember recording a bunch of things for the graduate student who was studying Korean regional dialects. And I recorded all these things, and then it turned out to be I didn't turn out to be a good sample for her, which I still kind of feel bad about because I grew up in one part of Korea, but my parents are from another part, so my dialect is kind of mixed. And so she was looking for a pure regional dialect, and mine was a little bit mixed, so my sample data ended up becoming not really that viable. Um, yeah, and linguistics, because it's such a niche field, a lot of the graduate students are very passionate about it, which is always a nice thing to be surrounded by when you're in college. Anyway, that's phonology. And the third is semantics, which has to do with the meanings of words and how a word can like represent like different ideas inside of your head. And then the fourth is syntax, which is subject, verb, like object, how it's formed across different languages. My least favorite is syntax because I hated grammar even since I was a kid, because how they teach English in Korea is very grammar heavy. And so, but I lived in Canada when I was little, right? So now I found myself in a really ironic situation where I speak the best English when I'm in my class in Korea, but my English grades are like the worst in class because I don't care about the syntax of things, right? So that turned out to be a little bit of a weird thing, and that gave me a bad experience. So I ended up just not taking any syntax courses. I think if I pursued a formal minor, then I would have needed to take syntax classes, but I didn't want to take syntax. Hi, hey Francis. So I'm answering the question. What was my minor and my experience with linguistics? Yeah. So would I ever learn another language? I think I learned pretty early on that learning a language by itself, it's not really gonna stick unless there's like a big reason to. For example, like SAT twos or whatever, or I'm traveling there or I'm living there for a long time. For if I had one of those reasons, I think I definitely would. But for now, I don't really have a reason to learn another language because I'm not gonna be really living anywhere else for the foreseeable future. So I don't know. Maybe I take jiu-jitsu more seriously, go live in Brazil for a little while, so maybe I'll learn Brazilian Portuguese. Maybe I'll take my Spanish a little bit seriously because of my proximity to Mexico. Then I'll be learning some Spanish. Those are, I think, some two prime candidates. And maybe some Chinese if I want to get deeper into the Chinese Buddhist texts, and maybe some Pali language, which is the old language where the Buddhist sutras are actually written in. Maybe those. And another question I got was, do I play video games? I play a lot of video games. Video games used to be kind of a staple of my childhood because I don't think I was home alone that often now that when I really think about it, but at the same time, I remember being at home alone a lot. And in those times, I played a lot of video games. And so, some of my favorite video games are what I remember playing a lot is, so a lot of people's favorite Final Fantasy is 7. I don't really remember playing a lot of 7, but my favorite Final Fantasy game is Final Fantasy 10. I played this game so much. I didn't go through like the super end game of like beating every like crazy boss and collecting all the celestial weapons. I didn't get a chance to do that, but I just remember going to town on this game. I really enjoyed playing this game. Yeah, and in terms of fighting games, my favorite fighting games are this game called King of Fighters. It used to be one of my favorite, and the other favorite is Tekken. Uh, these are the games I used to play in my neighborhood in Korea, and so I always have a fondness for these games. Um, Fighting games are actually very. There's a very. I like games there that have a lot of depth that you can kind of grow your skill in. So I like playing fighting games because they provide exactly that kind of stimulus. Another thing I played a lot too is Diablo 2. I played this a lot when I was a kid. Um, Not as much as the other kids, but I just remember Diablo 2 so vividly. Path of Exile, I also played a lot because of its similarity. This I played in my adulthood, and I got pretty deep into it, and I still probably can play a lot of it. Another game I played a lot when I was a kid was a Duke Nukem. So many people remember Doom 2. I also remember playing Doom 2 with my computer. So I have a lot of fond memories of my dad was a professor in Korea. So I remember every once in a while I would visit his lab, right? His office basically. And there was a computer there because he needed to write his papers and stuff. And I would always go, and my dad would be going out on lectures and teaching people and then meeting, grad students and things like that. And then I would just be in his office playing games. And then my dad's office would have visitors, but they're all like grad students, and they see the professor's kid playing video games, and they were all very nice to me. Gave me lots of like little fruit juices and snacks. So I remember playing a lot of Doom, a lot of like DOS games, and yeah, meeting all these grad students. Doom 2 and then Duke Nukem I played a lot. Duke Nukem was a pretty strange game, very violent. And another one, prehistoric. Yeah, this game I played a lot too. Oh, and Prince of Persia. I played a lot of this game. Not these graphic good ones. Like these ones. Yeah. I remember always getting stuck in one boss, and then my sister would come to the computer and she would beat the game for me. And there also was a Olympic Games, in DOS, and I played a lot of this game too. There was also a summer game. Man, these were some fun games. And then the other one was Princess Maker. So this is a Japanese game, and it is about you raising this kid, and you start out with this kid, and okay, so this game review was a very big part of my gaming history, so I want to make sure I spend some time talking about this game. Um, I apparently in the story, right? The demon army from the hell came over and tried to conquer the earth, and the humankind at that time was lavish and didn't have any defenses against the demon army until I come into the picture, right? I'm a warrior, and then I basically beat the shit out of these demons. And then so the king is like, "Oh my god, thank you so much. You're like the hero of this earth, and now you can live in this land. The land is basically yours. We're gonna give you a salary for like every great thing that you have done, right?" And then so I'm living there, and then because of this, I win the favor of the gods, right? And the gods give me this little daughter, and that's how the game starts. And I get to pick my daughter's name. I get to pick the birthday of my daughter, and depending on the birthday of my daughter, I get to have a relationship with the celestial god, like Aries and Cancer and Capricorn, whatever, right? Jupiter. So, I get this god, and then I get this daughter, and now with this daughter, I can do a lot of different things. I can make my daughter go to work. I can make my daughter, yeah, see, this is the farm, right? I can make my daughter do manual labor, and then I can make my daughter do babysitting, and then I can teach my daughter how to fight, and this is her when she's fighting, and depending on the path that you set your daughter on, she's gonna have rivals. She can do dancing, she can do cooking, she can do magic, she can do like fighting, and then depending on how I raise my daughter, I get different kinds of endings. So um, this is when my daughter becomes a warlock by herself because I failed her. I raised her to be this like demonic person and not a good person. This is when my daughter becomes a noble knight, high general, and you can do such a good job where your daughter becomes the king by ousting the existing king, and the existing king is like, whoa, 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 you're like so fucking cool. I'm a piece of shit compared to you, so I'm gonna give you the kingdom instead. And another one is like a judge. This is when you have really high morality, and then you can be a knight, and you can also be like not everything is good. You can be a con artist, divorcee, which is really weird. You can be a tutor, and you can kind of also be like a harlot, and you can be like a prostitute too. So these are all options available, but because of the name of the game is Princess Maker, right? It's the ultimate goal of the game is to make your daughter a princess, and for that, there's a lot of secrets in the game, so you can only meet the prince once a year and start a relationship with the prince every once a year. So if you forget that one time of the year, like, oh, and then so the game starts when the daughter is 10 years old, and then it goes on until the daughter is 18. And when it's 18, the screen fades away, and then now you can see the ending. I think I did practically every ending, but because of my natural disposition for fighting, I think I did a lot of the knight and the you can also be like a sword for hire, basically a mercenary. I remember being a mercenary a lot, and then oh, also when I do a bad job of educating the child, um, the child becomes a gangster. So because they're so strong and they have no sense of morality, so I remember being a lot of I remember doing a lot of the gangster endings. And so this is just Princess Maker 2, but it came all the way up to 5, and yeah, all the other sequels are similar in that there's a lot of repetition, and yeah. Can you play this? Oh, no way. Oh. Oh man, it's kind of crazy. Yeah. And this game is played by pressing space a lot. Wow, it's very loud. Wait, no, let me play. Train. And the thing about this game is that it doesn't give you like any instruction. So yeah, it doesn't give you any instructions on how to like press something. It doesn't tell you anything like that. So I remember playing. I forgot how to play that game, but let me see if there's the summer one I played a lot more. Not Super Summer. Yeah, but as you can see, I've been a gamer all my life. Strip poker, jeez. Yeah, summer challenge. Nobody comments on these. Yeah, but if you're young, you probably don't know these games used to be on these like floppy disks that you have to put into the computer, and then now I'm just really showing you my age. uh, I remember always picking the Koreans. Oh man, I messed up. Okay, I remember. Oh no. you let go? Anyway, um, this is basically my childhood, and these are all the games I used to play. And there's probably tons more. I played it as an adult, but for some reason, when I remember the games I used to play, when people ask me what games I used to play, it's always these ones. And also, of course, the classic Blizzard games. I played a lot of Warcraft 2, uh, a lot of StarCraft, like any Korean. But I actually was a big fan of Warcraft more than StarCraft. And strangely, also, for being a big fan of Warcraft, I never played World of Warcraft. Because number one, it was a subscription model and I didn't have the money to pay for it as a student. And secondly, I heard that it was a massive time sink and I didn't really want that in my life. Which is ironic because I went on to play a lot of different games that sunk up a lot of more time. But anyway, that was my gaming experience, and then I had a question from Reddit today, so let's answer that in a recording. All right. So the question is, when I practice my life coaching and then I talk to people online and I offer my services to people, I encounter people with varying degrees of life problems. Now, even though the problems are all very individual in nature, the more I talk to people, the more I can also see some general patterns. And the interesting part is some patterns go against each other. What I mean is, on one hand, I have a group of people who don't have a lot of money. I have a group of people who need to be making a lot of money, not to live an affluent life, but to get by. And I have a lot of people who never really got the validation and the support that they needed from their parents. And so they don't know how to trust in themselves. And so these end up becoming big problems for these people because everything is in an urgency, right? I need to make money real quick or else I'm going to be evicted from my apartment and so on. I need to make money or else my house is going to get foreclosed and so on, right? But it makes it really hard for you to do these things because you don't have the confidence because you never really got that from your upbringing. So now when you're in this category, you tend to think, if only I had some money. If only I got that kind of love from my parents. On the other hand, I have a group of people who have some of an opposite problem. And by that I mean, these people are more or less financially secure because their jobs pay well, or they got a ton of inheritance, or their family is more or less rich. And their parents love them so much, and now they're coming from a really stable household. So you would think that this wouldn't really lead to any problems. But what happens is, now they have no real motivation to do anything. And that can be in terms of career, that can be in terms of just like direction in life in general, that can be in terms of like, I do some things in my life, but the things that I do in my life are more or less set up for me. So it feels like I never really earned anything in my life. And that is like conducive to the idea of, man, if only I had something at stake, I think I'd be able to kind of burn my fuel. I think I'd be able to burn my fire. But everything is too comfortable for me. And so, the importance of this is that no matter what your circumstance is, there's always a way to view it as a problem for your life. Moreover, if any situation can be seen as negative, right? Conversely, you can also say that every situation in your life can be a good thing. So, if I am putting on the hat of the poor person who is in urgency, right? When I have the money, man, if I had the money, I can afford to make mistakes. I can afford to do things and fail. But right now, I just can't afford to do that. So now, when you're in that, wearing that hat, and you have some resources available to you, then, oh, good. Your life is good, right? So, conversely, suppose you don't have a lot of resources, right? Oh, suppose you have a lot of resources. Then, you find yourself thinking, man, if only I had some sense of urgency in my life, then I think I'd be able to really, go at something instead of just half-assing everything. And then suppose you're wearing that hat, and then you got into a situation where you are suddenly at a loss for resources and you are that urgent. So, in that case, it's good, right? But what does the human psyche normally do? It normally always opts to choose not the bad one, not the good one, but whatever belief you have inside of here as a base. So if your base disposition towards the world is that it is a helpful place, it doesn't matter what your circumstances are, you're gonna find a way to make hope for yourself. But if your natural disposition against the world is that it's not a good place to live, then people can throw money at you and you will still find reasons to make yourself believe that it's not a good place to live. So this is why it's very important for you to identify your relationship with the world. What is your outlook on life? And given your outlook, you have your situation. And your situation is very neutral. It doesn't have any good qualities inherently. It doesn't have any bad qualities inherently. But your viewpoint will influence whether it looks good to you or bad to you. So, this means if your life is not that affluent right now and you are in a sense of urgency, what you could potentially benefit from is the idea that you really don't have anything to lose. Yeah, so you can try something and then you can fail. And guess what? You don't really have anything to lose. Because why? There's nothing to foreclose on. There's nothing to get evicted from. Right? And so, but I will be evicted if but I have this and I will be evicted if I fuck up. So that already tells you, right? The more you have, the more you're going to look at it as potential things to lose instead of an asset. So, the more you invite this idea of you know what? Yeah, I don't have a lot of money anyway, so let's afford to make some mistakes. Because why? When I have money, I'm going to be risk averse. Because I'm going to be like, oh my god, I earned this money so hard, I can't afford to lose it. So, but right now I don't have that problem. So I can be a little bit more risky with my choices. I can afford to make bigger leaps of faith. And now conversely, if you have the resources, something that you can benefit from is, you know what? I can afford to fail. So let's just try things. Let's get into it. Let's buy this course, see what that's like. Let's enroll in this university, see what that's like. let's hire this person and get some coaching from them. Because why? I can afford to choose when a lot of people can't, right? So let's use this to my advantage. So, what I'm trying to say is, in summary, depending on your situation, there's always a way you can capitalize on it. So, instead of looking at all the flaws, what are some benefits of your life? And how can you use that as a resource? How can you use that as a capital in this capitalist society? That was the video of the day. As I was recording this video, I also thought of something, but then I kind of forgot what I've thought about. Oh yeah, also, I learned over the weekend about open eye meditation. So I tried that today morning and yesterday night. A lot of tears because the eyes get really dry. But I don't know. My personal preference is closing the eyes, but maybe it's because of just my habit. So I'm gonna try to give it a few. I'm gonna try to give it a few more times. See where that takes me in terms of my meditation practice. Also, found this Buddhist temple in Hawaii, and it's a lot bigger than the other temples in Los Angeles and New York. Google Maps had a lot more photos. How do I see the venue? Come on, show me the pictures. Wait, how do I go to the venue page? I'm so confused. Yeah. So you can see here the building is a lot more formal, right? And it's a lot more colorful. And when you actually go to Korea, this is what the temples actually look like in Korea. So it's a lot truer to the Korean temple experience. Whereas the temples that I visited recently are basically repurposed American homes. But this is different. It's all like built like a proper Korean temple. So see this roof here? There's an interesting story about why that roof is sort of cut off, because the roof is supposed to look like this. But apparently the construction of the first temple began in 1980, but during the temple's construction, it was discovered that the roof of the main hall exceeded city and county height limitations. As a result, the roof was lowered to its present height. So, that's why. But in Buddha's teachings, he speaks of shattering our inner ridge poles of ignorance, greed, and craving in our house of illusion. The shattering of ignorance by wisdom results in the demolition of illusion and the attainment of liberation or nirvana. Right? So as with the enlightenment of the Buddha, made the shattering of our inner roofs, they had to like shatter the roof, remind us of the structures of ignorance that can be let go to reach the true heights of our inner liberations. So that's a really interesting feature of the temple, right? So they said in terms of blinking, they said it's totally fine to blink, but you know, when you meditate, the purpose is to just stop everything, right, and just be at peace right here, right now. So when I'm closing my eyes, um, sometimes I feel an itch in the back, right, and then sometimes I feel like kind of like sore, so I want to move around and I want to stretch, and sometimes I want to breathe like this, like because my nose is itchy. Sometimes I want to clear my throat, but if I sit down and do all that, it's not really meditating, right? I'm just following my body. So the purpose of meditation is to just stop and let those things be. Oh, okay. So right now, my nose feels a little itchy. Yeah. So right now, I have this urge to stretch my arms, and I feel really constricted. Constricted. So these are things I just notice as I'm sitting still. So in that spirit, like I open my eyes and I'm just kind of like this, right? And then I feel the urge to blink, right? I want to blink, but at the same time, it's the same stimulus as the other things, right? Like my leg has no circulation. Oh, I want to itch my back, and oh, my dog is coming here, and then my dog is licking my leg, and I want to pet my dog, and blah 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 blah. So, I I could follow it, or I could just let it be. And when it comes to the eyes are very sensitive, right? So the tendency is to want to like this, but once you start giving into that, right, you find yourself constantly being consumed by this, and I'm trying to break away from that. So I'm just here. More or less staying in this state, and not easy, but the recommendation was to just start with 5 minutes. So doing that. Also, I have some dog news. Uh, my white dog is sick today, and my poodle decided to devour this toy. So she ate the eye and started dissecting the toy. Luckily, I found the dog before it actually went to town on it and ate everything. And like say lucky, because if that were the case, we have to go to the hospital again and operate again, and that's like literally the worst experience you can have when you have a dog that's old. Needless surgeries. What a bad dog. But anyway, that was the primary video I wanted to make, and all the things that I wanted to say. So for the rest of the 15 minutes, let's just try coaching some people on Reddit. Why won't this window close? Okay, now it closed. Clean and sober for 3 years. Man, when you're 25 and you're trying to be sober for 3 years, that's a big feat. I don't understand what this meme is trying to say. Those who have developed a consistent exercise routine, what motivated you to keep going? I think Billy Jr. Since my dad left, I think he misses his dad, and so he's just been feeling very weak. Um, and normally he's a very voracious dog. He likes to eat everything, but today he didn't really want to eat breakfast, and he kept on looking like he wanted to barf, or and his poop hasn't been that good recently, so was a little bit worried about what was happening to him. But thankfully, he ate dinner and he's doing much better now. Old dogs and sensitive dogs, not that great. Yeah, uh, he likes to bully my dad because my wife and I are pretty strict when it comes to their behavior and their diet and everything. But my dad is like the opposite of that. He's very lenient. Always gives in and gives the dog treats and things like that. And so my dog looks at my dad that all the time with this like, "Hey, are you gonna give me snacks?" And then he gets angry when my dad doesn't give him snacks. And then but always ends up eating too much, and then diarrhea time, which is kind of bad because of he's such a small dog. So if it was a big dog, he can have a lot of treats and he can be fine. But small dogs have this problem of you eat too much and then diarrhea time, and the they have this big appetite as if they're a big dog, but their teeny little stomachs are so small, cannot really hold that much food down. So that's the sad part. But we've over time we found some small dog treats, so they're able to have some kind of snacks. So it's not all bad. When it comes to exercise routine, I personally think the most important part is sounds obvious, but you need to want to exercise, right? But why don't so typically why do people think that they need to exercise? It's because of external conditions, right? External like pressure. I feel like I should be exercising because of reason X, Y, Z, because I wanted this like shredded look and blah blah blah. Okay, so those are all good, right? When you're shredded and when it feels nice, it's all good. But there's a lot of work, ongoing work that's required to maintain that kind of physique, right? It's not this thing that you get once and then you're kind of done. And so what's really important is not just attaining it once as a goal, but this instead this mindset of getting that kind of a physique as a side effect of doing something that you really enjoy doing. So for me, it's like grappling, right? I do a lot of jujitsu and I do like a lot of grappling sports in general. So as a result of, and you know what, to be completely honest, like meditation and things like that are pretty hard on the body too, right? So for me, kind of disciplining in terms of meditation and bowing, that's my form of exercise, right? And I enjoy doing it every day. Therefore, I don't really need to think about, oh no, I need to exercise this much in order to maintain this physique. Because why? It comes as a side effect of doing the things that I love. And so basically, it's a freebie. What a convenient life, right? And so I think when it comes to developing consistent exercise routines, these things tend to really, really, really help. And so it's important for you to find a sport or a physical activity that you like. Why? Because there are so many different types of physical activities that you can do. But because of the stigma around inactive people, and you know, for a really long time, I felt really ashamed of my lack of athletic abilities, especially because I was a very big like computer guy and book nerd when I was a kid, right? I was always inside and introverted and not really participating in any sports. So I remember as a child feeling really really bad about that. So um, that really turned me off to a lot of sports in general because I'm already really bad at it. Therefore, why spend more time at doing something I'm bad at and getting ridiculed for it? And I remember being in junior high, like I was a Korean guy, and I just came back to the United States, and then when I was a kid, nobody. When I was in my elementary school, nobody really played football at that age. But then when I was in junior high, I noticed that all my peers were playing football, right? But I have no idea how to play with the football because they don't play football in Korea, the American football. And so I remember being in recess and being in the lunchtime, and I'm always looking at the field, and I want to participate and join in. And then some like kid allowed me to join, and then they passed me the ball, right? But I didn't know that you couldn't run backwards because nobody really explained the rules. And to be completely fair, I also didn't ask, and so people were like, "Oh, why are you running backwards?" And then everybody get really upset at me, and then I was like, "Oh, okay." And I felt like really ashamed, and I just like ran into the corner, and then I just like from then I didn't really do anything. And that happens to be the coinciding with the time that I got bullied by this like girl who cussed me out every day at lunch. So these things tend to really stay in your psyche and prevent you from enjoying exercise. But you know, uh, there's a lot of different ways to move your body, and if you find something that you love, dancing's another great avenue, and rock climbing, and surfing. There's so many different things that you can do with your body, and there's a big amount of joy that comes from like being able to move your body the way you please. If you're a more static kind of a person, yoga's also great. So finding those are really excellent options. Now I just gotta write that down. Cool. What to do after cheating on your partner? A few nights ago, while out at a club, I cheated on my partner by making out with a friend of mine. I was very drunk and barely remember it happening, but I told my partner the very next day. Yesterday, she rightfully ended our relationship after what happened. I can't imagine what she is feeling due to my terrible actions. I feel so guilty. Because I know this wouldn't have happened without the use of alcohol, I'm trying to cut it out of my life entirely. I reached out to the therapy organization I used to go to in order to get help. I've had friends help me through this by giving me advice, talking with me, and just hanging out, but every time this happens, I feel so guilty. I'm ashamed of my actions. I don't know how to improve but after hurting someone out of nowhere who thought our relationship would go far. I want to be happy, but I don't know how I can be comfortable in being happy when I did something so awful. What are the next steps I can do to improve myself? And if someone has ever been in a similar situation, please let me know what you did after. Okay. So, in my opinion, in these situations, it's important to recognize that alcohol doesn't usually enable things that are not living inside of your head, right? It just lowers the barriers for the ideas and the actions that are already living inside of your head. So, this means when there is a tendency to drink, right? When I get drunk and all my thresholds are lowered, I tend to do these things that I actually really want to do when I'm not drunk. So, this means number one, I am in pursuit of drinking for a reason, and number two, and when I drink, these happen for an intelligent reason. And so, feeling bad, you could feel bad about it, especially because of the morals of situations and whatnot. But the thing is, like, yes, you broke a social contract, but there was no legal really ramifications around it, and relationships happen and then they end. So it's important to recognize that relationships can always end for one reason or another, and it can continue into other things or one another. So it just, even though the primary fault of it can lie in your hands, it's just that there is no reason to continue banging yourself over and over, because it's just what happens to relationships, regardless of the activities that you do, right? Whatever starts can always end. So, in order to actually learn from experiences like this, it's very important to stop and think about why. Why do I want these things? And why do I do these things? Why am I in pursuit of alcohol? And when I'm drunk, why do I do the things that I did? Even while knowing that it's a terrible action. All right. Man, a lot of porn watchers today. But today this is gonna be the stream. I'm gonna brush my teeth and get started with the day tomorrow. Do some meditation and then end the day. Alrighty. Thanks for joining today, and I hope you have a wonderful night. And I'll see you tomorrow.